So you've already had that first consultation call with your client where you nailed down the basic info, like their budget, what package they'd be needing, and a general idea of the scope of the project. But now that they're officially on the books, it's time to get to work at gathering up the clues about exactly what it is they're picturing in their head when they're daydreaming about their new website. So today's list of questions will help you do just that. Think of it like a brand, business, and style guide you will reference every single time you have to make a design decision about their website, rather than having to email the client and wait for a response 87 different times throughout the entire project. But before we dive into all of that, if you are struggling to consistently land clients and fill your books with the type of projects you're actually dreaming of working on in the first place, then I want to give you access to my free training, Finding Clients as a New Designer. It's a 60-minute in-depth training, and I actually pre-recorded it in advance for you, so you can jump in and get started learning right away. Here's the link to take advantage of that free training. You'll also find it in the description below. Alright, so let's break up all these client questionnaire questions into simple categories or sections, starting with the basic details for their website. So obviously you'll have figured out a few of these things already, but you don't want to assume how they will want their basic business details represented online. So some of the info they use to inquire may be different from what actually needs to go on their website publicly. So you're going to be asking things like their business name, their registered business name, and the date established for the copyright note in the footer of their website. For example, Paige Brunton is the name of my business, but then if I was, say, for example, in the US, like I know most of you are, my legal business name would be Paige Brunton LLC. So you'll need to know their preferred URL for their new site in case it differs from their current one, or their business phone number and email address, their physical address for brick and mortar locations, and their social media links. You'll want to make sure to ask how and where to display these things as well. So this can look like creating a little list of options and have them check all that apply. For example, for their contact info, you might ask whether they want to include it as written text, to be used as a contact form, to use both or none. Same as for their address, should it appear as a map, should it appear as written text, or should it appear as both or appear none at all? Alright, so we've nailed down the basics there. On to the next section, which is their brand and style details. So the first thing you need to do is find out if there is any established branding that you'll need to be working into the website design. Depending on who you serve and what stage of business they tend to be in, you might find that many clients don't actually have any brand identity beyond maybe a logo. They may not realize that branding is actually a separate service from website design altogether. That's fairly common. So before you book a client, be sure to establish whether or not branding is included in your package and what the client will be responsible for providing for you brand-wise. If they don't have branding and you plan to provide that as a service, then you'll probably want to ask a lot more questions than what I'll just share right here, which is just related to like the website design aspect of the work you'll be doing together. But for the web designer working with an existing brand, whether professionally done or DIY'd, you'll want to ask things like, have you had any custom branding created for your business? And you'll also want to include instructions for your client then on how to share those items with you, like simply listing them out, linking to a reference, or uploading to a file sharing location. So be sure to have your client include things like your brand colors, your brand fonts, your primary and secondary logos, and any additional brand assets like a brand mood board or custom icons or other custom elements that they maybe had created for their brand as well. Another fun way to find out about their vision for their site is to have them pick 3 to 5 adjectives that describe their brand. This gives you insight into how they view their business and how to create the overall site vibe that reflects that. Okay, so we've got the branding and general style locked down. Now it's time to move on to section 3 of our client questionnaire, which is all about what they offer and who they serve. Kind of important to have on their website. So a lot of this information is already going to be covered in their website copy, but it can be helpful to ask a few questions to help you understand what exactly needs to be highlighted on their website, since your design choices will ultimately decide what sort of stands out on the page. Again, depending on your client's budget, they may have opted to DIY their website copy as opposed to hiring a copywriter. So you may need to look at creating additional prompts and worksheets maybe to help them provide you with higher quality content. I actually share a few of my favorite tips for helping clients gather better quality site content in this post/video, so go check that out too. But in terms of making sure your design puts the right things in focus, you might ask things like, to someone who has never heard of your business, describe what you do. Who are you trying to help and what are you trying to help them with? What makes what you offer unique and what do you do differently or better than anyone else in your industry? What's the nicest thing a client or customer has ever said about your business is also a wonderful question to ask. You might have even had them complete an ideal client avatar exercise to help them give you a better idea of who it is you're trying to speak to with your design decisions on the website. On to the final section, which is all about website planning and inspiration. So you'll want to ask questions like, what do you like/dislike about your current website? That one is so valuable. It gives you great insight. You'll also want to ask what works and what doesn't on your current website. Is there anything on your current site that you feel is no longer a good reflection of you or what it is your business offers? And depending on whether you are redesigning their site from scratch or just refreshing or transferring content from their current site, it can be helpful to know what still applies and what's just plain outdated when it comes to their current website. You'll also want to ask who are your competitors and have them link to their websites and what they like/dislike about how those sites function or how they feel. You can also ask them to share which websites they are currently crushing on. This is so useful. These websites don't even necessarily need to be from the same niche or even the same industry. You just want them to list out 3 to 5 sites and get them to tell you specifically what it is about those websites that they love. Maybe there's a cool design feature that caught their eye that you can creatively adapt to their niche or to their brand without copying, of course. Or maybe they love the super unique way that certain pages are laid out. Try to ask questions that will help them be specific about what it is about these websites that they're drooling over that they love and why. Ask them to describe how they want their visitors to feel when they visit their website and describe all the things you want your visitors to be able to physically do when they reach your website. That will help you figure out which functionality is the most important to nail down on their website. But you may also choose to expand on that question with something like asking your client, what's the first step you're hoping visitors will take the minute they land on your homepage? This will help you to clarify which of all of their website goals is the most important to them and therefore what to be prioritizing in your design. Obviously, you hope to build a site that does all the things that they're asking for, but if you want to try to draw attention to everything, you kind of end up drawing attention to nothing and the website just becomes a big hot mess. So you can use all of these questions to design a much more effective customer journey for your client's site visitors. This last question is totally optional, but it can be a lot of fun, which is to have them link to a Pinterest board. Now, not every client is the type to enjoy Pinterest as a planning tool, so you really have to know the type of client that you're dealing with and kind of get the idea of if they would be into that or know how to use it. But this creative exercise can be super useful and welcome to many clients. Having your client create a Pinterest board is a fabulous way to literally get inside their head and see what it is that they're really picturing for their site. It's a visual way to communicate something visual, which is really useful. So have them create a board with 10 to 15 images that remind them of their brand or their dream website or their dream business. And try to guide your client to not be so literal when making their selections. So if they're a yoga studio, you don't want them to just pin a bunch of yoga studio or yoga studio website examples unless they absolutely are in love with that website example and have to share it with you. But what you're really looking for here is a collection of images that convey like the feeling or the vibe that they want their new website to give off, as opposed to literally just like pinning other people's websites. So basically any image, even if it's totally unrelated to yoga, that contains the colors or textures or shapes or moods or emotions that their dream clients are most likely to resonate with would be perfect. Again, some people aren't able to think in this abstract way, so it's really up to you to tweak the process to fit with your ideal client and really help them complete the questionnaire in a way that doesn't end up feeling like a chore for them. So if this doesn't fit or this doesn't make any sense to them, that's okay. Try to find another way to get that information from them. So that is it for a list of client questionnaire questions. The more you learn about your niche and your client, the more you'll be able to tailor your list of questions specifically to them. So take this as a starting and jumping off point. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to head to the link in the description below and take advantage of that free training, which I mentioned I had pre-recorded for you. It's on how to find clients as a new designer and the 7 costly mistakes that you'll want to avoid in order to set yourself up for long-term client finding success. And remember, if you found this video helpful, I would so appreciate it if you hit that like button. And remember, I share new content and videos about building a web design business that you'll love, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell button to be notified when I drop new content on the channel every week. If you're looking for something to watch next, be sure to check out these videos too.